Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. English booth. Testing 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. English booth.
Testing, 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 1 2.
Wait, am I on? Oh, go again.
Testing, testing, 1 2. Testing, 1 2. Testing.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
Buenos dias. Good morning. A quick note before we get started. For those persons using the machines, the translators, for English, you will need to press 1. For Spanish, it's 2. And for French, 3. So, para utilizar la máquina, para inglés, 1, español, 2, y francés, 3. Thank you. Another reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to turn off the cell phones, los teléfonos. Ladies and gentlemen, again, good morning. Distinguidas señoras y señores, todos, buenos días. Please stand for the parade of the flags de FAO y Jamaica. Por favor, puedan estar de pie para la desfile de banderas de Jamaica y FAO. Also, we would have had our platform party. The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. El Primer Ministro, el más honorable Andrew Holness. Y con el Primer Ministro, with the Prime Minister, members of the Platform Party, Mr. Donovan Stanbury, Permanent Secretary, Julio Berdegue, Assistant Director General for FAO, Dr. Jose Graciano da Silva, Director General, FAO of the United Nations, Dr. Hugo Martinez, pro tempore President of the Community of Latin American and the Caribbean States, Dr. Margarita Cedeño, Constitutional Vice President of the Dominican Republic, la República Dominicana, y por favor permanezca de pie, please remain standing for el himno nacional de Jamaica. Please remain standing for Jamaica's national anthem. Por favor, permanezca de pie para la oración. Please remain standing for prayer. Reverend Davin Thomas, Chairman of the St. James Ministers Fraternal.
Let us pray. Almighty God, creator of this universe, you are great, omnipotent God. You are worthy. We thank you for the confidence that you have displayed in us, having kept us alive, because you have work for us to do. Lord, we thank you for placing us in a region that teems with rich vegetation, abundance of sunshine, and adequate rainfall to make our crops grow. Lord, we thank you that you have enabled us through your blessed Holy Spirit and through the mixture of minds and hearts to do those things that will enable us, dear God, to make our region self-sufficient in food. Thank you again for oceans and rivers and landscape that teem with an abundance of vegetation that give life. Lord, as we deliberate, as we confer, may our minds and our hearts be at that place that will not only guarantee an abundance of food, but will be able to maintain such for our health and general well-being. Thank you again, O Lord, for all that will transpire here, and may it redound to your glory and tremendous benefits to all of us. And this we ask in the blessed name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Thomas. Muchas gracias. Ustedes pueden estar sentados. You may be seated. And at this time, I would like to hand the proceedings over to the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, and Fisheries of Jamaica, Mr. Donovan Stanbury. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Marlene. Most Honorable Prime Minister, Andrew Holness, Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, and Chairman of this 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean. Other members of the Cabinet, if they're here. We're also pleased to welcome Dr. Margarita Cedeno, Constitutional Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Special Ambassador to the FAO. Can you give her a hand, please? We're also pleased to welcome Dr. Hugo Martinez, Pro Tempore President of the Community of Latin American Caribbean States, CELAC, and Minister of Foreign Affairs for El Salvador, Dr. Martinez. Dr. Jose Graziano de Silva, Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, Your Worship, the Mayor, Councillor Omar Davis in the audience, also Honorable Conrad Pitkin, Custos Rotolorum for St. James, Dr. Julio Berdigue, who is on the platform with us, Assistant Director General. You have heard already from Reverend Dave Wynne Thomas. Members of the Diplomatic Corps who are here. Dr. Heath Crawley, Secretary for the Conference. Heads of Delegation, Ministers of Agriculture across the region. Representative of regional organizations, notably Dr. Manuel Otero, Director General of AICA, and the Executive Director of CARDI, Mr. Barton Clark. Members of the public and private sector are here. The Opposition Spokesman, Deputy on Agriculture, Mr. Victor Wright, my colleague, Permanent Secretary. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for me on behalf of Jamaica to welcome you all to this 35th sitting of the Regional Conference of Latin America and the Caribbean for FAO, which brings together today all 33 countries that are part of this region. I was the least surprised when I heard that all 33 members are present for the first time, because I've always known that Jamaica is a puller. And this conference started on Monday, and our mission is to look at important issues relating to food and agriculture, notably food security, the issue of rural development, climate change resilience, and more importantly, to plan the work program for FAO for the region for the next 2 years. Welcome, and to welcome you even more formally, may I now invite my own minister, Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries. Please give him a hand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and my permanent secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Codina, Constitutional Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Special Ambassador of the FAO, colleague ministers from Jamaica and the region, Councillor Omar Davis, the Mayor of Montego Bay, Bishop Conrad Pitkin, Custos of Jamaica, of St. James. Sometimes we mix it up. We think that St. James is Jamaica. Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization, my friend, Dr. Jose Graciano da Silva, Dr. Julio Benrique, Assistant Director General for the FAO Latin America and the Caribbean region, Dr. Eve Crowley, and my newfound friend. She has to be, because she's the one that guides me through the chair. Members of the Diplomatic Corps and international organizations, other distinguished, ladies and gentlemen of the public and private sector and the media. On behalf of the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries, I welcome you all to this friendly city of Montego Bay. Please be assured that while you are here, as they say, mi casa es su casa. For the Jamaicans, that means my home is your home. I believe we have got off to a very good start for this conference, having so far engaged in deliberations at the senior officer meeting and sub-regional consultations. I believe that this 31st session is shaping up to be a very successful one. It appears to be one of the largest to date, having so far accounted for the attendance of some 337 delegates. And also, it's a conference at which all member states are represented. And based on the feedback and the conviviality of the spirit generated in our welcome reception at the Rose Hall Great House last night, we trust that in addition to serious business, there will also be time for some pleasure, and Jamaica is well known for providing that. Ours is a collaborative effort as a regional grouping of FAO member states, and we are pleased that the government and people of Jamaica, through the ministry, are able to chair this 35th session of our meeting. Permit me to extend on your behalf a special welcome to Director General Graciano da Silva, and to thank him and his team for having provided the opportunity to Jamaica to host this very significant conference. Indeed, for my own part, I am happy for the opportunity to return the gracious hospitality extended by the DG and his team to us during our visit to the 40th session of the FAO in Rome last year. Ladies and gentlemen, our presence here today is certainly indicative of our commitment to our group and the causes and concerns we face and intend to tackle successfully. It is, of course, the issues of food and agriculture that has brought us together in this fashion. And Jamaica, as well as our sister nations of CARICOM, certainly joins in the rest of the region in endorsing the themes and discussion points of this conference as enunciated by the Director General yesterday. This meeting in Rose Hall is a historic one for Jamaica and CARICOM. It was last hosted here in Jamaica 50 years ago, just 5 years after we gained political independence from Britain. Much, we believe, has changed in the past half a century. As it relates to food and agriculture, the world, including our region, have been impacted by a range of factors, including trade regulations, weather and climate-related events, shortages and price increases, hunger, and the food security issues. I believe it is fair to say that despite the ongoing challenges, the global community under the leadership of agencies like the FAO has remained firm in the commitment to find solutions and set goals such as those documented in the development goals. In this conference, we continue to chart the way forward to achieving these goals. You may also be interested to note that Jamaica, along with some 16 other states this year, celebrate our 40th anniversary as member states of the FAO. This will be, you may applaud. This will be fittingly commemorated this afternoon with the official opening of a pictorial exhibition. I believe we will all agree that this 35th session of the regional conference holds a wealth of promise and possibilities as together we continue to forge and strengthen our strategic alliance to confront the challenges we face. Welcome again, and here's to a great conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. A couple months ago, right here in this hall, we had the President of the Dominican Republic, and today we are so happy to welcome the Constitutional Vice President, the Special Ambassador to the FAO, Dr. Margarita Sidenia. Welcome.
Good morning. Please allow me to speak in Spanish, so it's my native language, if you allow me.
Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of this beautiful country, sister nation. Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries of Jamaica. Honorable Graciano da Silva, Director General of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Honorable Hugo Martinez, Pro Tempore President of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States and Minister of Foreign Affairs of El Salvador. Honorable Donovan Stanbury, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries of Jamaica. Honorable Julio Berdeguet, Assistant Director General and Regional Director of the FAO in Latin America and the Caribbean. Ministries of Agriculture, Minister Esteves, members of the Diplomatic Corps, international organizations, consulates, distinguished representatives, FAO officials, officials of the government of Jamaica, members of the press, special invitees, special guests, friends, everyone. I am pleased to be with you this morning in this tropical heat, radiant sunlight in the Caribbean, to start this regional conference. And I am convinced that we will be discussing over these days what is essential for humanity in Latin America and the Caribbean and in the entire world to bring an end to hunger, malnutrition, and better conditions for our rural areas. I should like to thank the government of Jamaica for this warm welcome which has been extended to us, which is an unequivocal demonstration of the friendship and the appreciation that both countries share. And on behalf of the government and the President Medina, who sends greetings to the Prime Minister. Friends, hunger is a moral scandal of our times. There is no better description that we could give to it than that given by the Pope. And we are called upon to bring end to this with all our efforts, energy, and our determination and high levels of commitment. It is not justified in a world where wealth continues to grow considerably, and for middle-income countries, there is still a problem with regard to food. And to confront this reality, we need to have firm actions on the part of states, but also, I would say, of all our societies in general. I could give the example of the Dominican Republic, where we have been able to make significant progress. Surprise visits, which we receive on Sundays from rural communities, and Danilo Medina receives productive sectors. There has been greater support for agriculture, or the share of agriculture in GDP, and the per capita consumption of food. Up to last Sunday, there have been over 1,400 projects which have received direct support from the President through the national budget. We have 450,000 small producers from all productive sectors, which covers 85% of the breadbasket of the Dominican Republic for our nationals as well as tourists. This is significant. This has been due to the agricultural policies that have been promoted, that our President has started, and the team that accompanies him. Other actions have contributed to this achievement. For example, the Casa Sombra in greenhouses, which is a production system which has been very useful in areas which experience a lot of sunlight. And this is a project which is being supported by the FAO. 14 of these houses have been set up with these solid programs, and we intend to cover all municipalities. Similarly, the role of family farming in improving productive capacity in the Dominican Republic is something that is of great significance. As an extraordinary ambassador, special ambassador of the FAO, in addition to being constitutional vice president, mother, wife, I have a triple commitment to this. And we are working intensely to integrate the production of family orchards for 123,000 families with Solidaridad, and for consumption as well as the generation of income. Other interventions or actions that families are devoted to rearing animals as well as aquaculture and fisheries, and the production in greenhouses. All the families participating, over 250,000 families participating in the program, are meeting with much success and have the satisfaction of being able to work the land, offering more opportunities for their families, better living conditions, and contributing to their country. This is a project which I'm very proud of personally, because we need to teach people to fish rather than just giving them a fish. These agricultural productions have increased in the amount of money, and avocado in particular. We export over 40 million units per year. Recently, we have had the law on food sovereignty with the technical cooperation offered by the FAO. And this is an effective legal framework to guarantee food security in my country. Lastly, I would like to emphasize and to inform you all, and particularly the authorities of this beloved country and the FAO, that this process that we have carried out with the FAO to have a roadmap to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal 2. It is to end hunger, and it is not a coincidence that it is among the first three goals. And I would say that it is multidimensional, multisectoral, multi-institutional, as is poverty reduction in our country. And so we have a very participatory process, one that is far-reaching, with the discussions and consultations where we have designed this roadmap for the completion of SDG 2, and we will make available the methodology used. This is a process where the Society of the Dominican Republic has lent their voice to achieve this important objective. Friends, my friend Graciano da Silva insists on the need to invest in rural development, and there are a number of challenges and actions to be implemented, and which fortunately we are in a position to undertake. But I'd like to call your attention to three aspects. The first is the need to recover the lost capacity of women or participation of women in agriculture. And FAO says that it cannot continue to be tolerated in the region. As in all areas of the society, women participate in agriculture with less access to credit, land ownership, and productive channels. And this is what makes them poor and their families. And we cannot allow this situation to continue. The second aspect to take into consideration is the urgency, the need to invest in the resilience of productive systems, especially at times when climate change and continuous natural disasters threaten to eliminate all the progress that we have achieved. We need to use all our creativity to strengthen mitigation systems and to protect agriculture from this reality, which we must mention because this is something of increasing concern to our countries in the region. The third aspect to take into consideration is the urgent need to employ techniques in agriculture, and we need to identify talents in communities and to ensure that members of the communities bring solutions to these problems. And I say this as part of the experience that we have had in the Dominican Republic. Just yesterday, I was at the border. I work a lot at the border with our friendly nation, Haiti, and in the Imani province, and we launched a technological center, and we set it up as a space maker. And young people can create their own solutions to societal problems which weigh heavily on them. We are providing this opportunity for young people to provide solutions for fertilizers and harvest using technology that is useful to farmers in their communities. For this and for all that is required, you can speak with us because there is much more to be done for Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, and the region as a whole. We welcome this meeting and we congratulate the countries in the region for the efforts carried out. We carry solidarity always in our hearts, and what we want to do is to end hunger in Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as in the world as a whole. Thank you very much. May God bless you.
Thank you very much, Madam Vice President. I put on my headphone just in time to hear her promoted me to Honorable. I've never been called thus before. Thank you so much, Vice President. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to have Dr. Hugo Martinez, Pro Tempore President of the Community of Latin America and Caribbean States, CELAC, and also Minister of Foreign Affairs for El Salvador. Welcome, Dr. Martinez.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning, everyone. His Excellency, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Andrew Holness. Her Excellency, Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Special Ambassador of the FAO, Dr. Margarita Cedeno. Honorable Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, and Fisheries of Jamaica, Carl Samuda. Honorable Ministers, Vice Ministers, Honorable Director General of the FAO, Jose Graciano da Silva, regional representatives, members of the Diplomatic Corps, delegates, participants, special guests, ladies and gentlemen of the press. This is for me a true honor to participate in this 35th regional conference of the FAO for Latin America and the Caribbean. An opportunity to address you as pro tempore president of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States. Before continuing, I would like to express my gratitude to the people and the government of Jamaica, hosts of this meeting, for the quality and the warm welcome that we have received here. I also would like to mention some important news for my country. but also, I think, important for the continent and the world. Today, Pope Francis sent out a decree to canonize Mr. Romero, who, as you all know, is a person who worked very hard in this worked for the needs of people, not only in El Salvador, but in the world. And unfortunately, he was murdered during the Civil War in the 80s in El Salvador. But today, His Holiness Pope Francis sent out the decree and announced his canonization of Mr. Romero. I would like to thank the UN Food and Agriculture Organization for its warm invitation to participate in this conference. And I'd like to highlight what we have been carrying out in the fight to eradicate hunger, rural poverty, malnutrition, but also for food security. Without a doubt, there are complex challenges to us, and we have to overcome these and make efforts and have specific activities at the local, national, regional, and even global level, with an approach that allows us to impact on the ground and achieve irreversible changes and sustainable changes for our people. For example, this challenge of eradicating hunger from 8 billion people at the global scale is a challenge as well about how to address these over 1 billion tons of food that is wasted each year in the world. So we have, on one side, 100 million persons suffering from hunger, and then on the other side, we have over 1 billion tons of food being wasted. These challenges are what we're speaking about. But also, there are other challenges, such as the threat of climate change to agricultural production at the local and global level. So these challenges that we're facing and the need for better energy are factors and the basis for the alliance that we have established various years ago between CELAC and the FAO. As you remember, in the first summit of CELAC, the heads of state and government met in Chile in 2013, and we called for working for food security. And in the second summit, we requested the support of the FAO to formulate a plan for the eradication of hunger in the region. This plan was presented by the FAO with the support of CEPAL, among others, in the third summit in Costa Rica in 2015. I remember that at that occasion, the Director General, Dr. Graciano da Silva, was with us. And he did a presentation for 20 minutes, and it was so passionate and so deep that we were in a discussion for more than an hour and a half on how to implement this plan and how to face the challenges that we saw in this CELAC summit. It was specifically on that occasion that the heads of state and government approved the plan for food security, nutrition, and eradication of hunger of 2005 of the CELAC. This involved a lot of work. And this work was done by El Salvador Dominican Republic, and it's now under El Salvador again as the pro tempore president. So we know that this work has not been easy. Yes, we have 33 states, and getting them all to work together is not easy, but it's very important to do this. And for this reason, CELAC has sought to face the challenge and to work with the FAO. We have moved from declarations to actions. with the formulation of the plan, where we are involved in a general level, and your regional director is involved as well as all of these countries. The President of the Dominican Republic announced some efforts that were being carried out in her country, but also other countries are making efforts within the framework of this strategy that we are using to fight hunger and to promote food security. I would like to quickly speak to 4 achievements that are very significant, which have been established through this alliance between CELAC and the FAO. Firstly, we have the plan to generate mechanisms in countries that have facilitated alignment with the 2030 agenda. We have strengthened governmental structures for food security, and we have improved considerably coordination between the policies, exchanges of experience, and South-South cooperation. The second achievement is that we have brought an instrument to empower rural women, approving the gender strategy for the implementation of the CELAC plan, which allows me to highlight the commemoration of the International Day of Women. Thirdly, we have strengthened a regional agenda with a meeting of ministers of the CELAC on family farming and rural development, which has allowed us to generate tools and valuable spaces to improve our regional dialogue. Fourthly, aware of climate change and the effects it is having on agriculture and food, we approved a strategy to manage natural disaster risk, which will support our countries in general and provide tools to be more resilient. Dear friends, without a doubt, the progress that has been mentioned is very important, but of course, it's still not enough. Still not enough, and there's a lot more to do. And in order to continue advancing, we have to focus our efforts much more on working together and deepening our alliances, procuring better resources to face all of the factors that affect agriculture and food in our countries. Among these factors, I can't not mention climate change, because the region is highly vulnerable to this. And despite this awareness and the multiple commitments that have been made at the UN, the region continues to experience serious difficulties due to access of resources. Actions taken are only taken with the insufficient resources that each country has. For this reason, and due to the complex challenges that we are facing, I would like to invite us to strengthen the CELAC plan. And this allows us all to have actions and activities in territories that are especially focused on the most at-risk territories. I also request support from the FAO, even more support, because we have a mandate to contribute to the development of territories that have the highest level of hunger and poverty, contributing with renewed strategies that incorporate focuses such as food security, migration, and also include focus on production and focus to face the epidemic that we can call it of obesity that we also have to look at when we're looking at the issue of hunger, and we also have to have institutional strengthening. I trust that CELAC and the member countries will continue in this space united in diversity, and that we can continue prioritizing special topics. And in this case, it's food security and nutrition. I thank again the FAO for being one of the main allies of the countries of CELAC and for contributing to the achievement of a Latin America and Caribbean that is free from hunger. Dr. Graciano and his team, I would like to recognize your support. It has been fundamental for the progress that we have made in the region. But we must continue committed. We must continue moving forward in order to achieve the end of hunger and that no one will be left behind. Thank you very much.
Thanks much, Dr. Martinez. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Jamaican welcome to the Director General of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, Dr. Jose Graziano da Silva.
The Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries of Jamaica, Dr. Margarita Cedeño, Vice President of the Dominican Republic and a Special Ambassador of FAO, is our honor, Dr. Hugo Martinez, Pro Tempore President of the Community of Latin American Caribbean States, CELAC, and Foreign Affairs Minister of El Salvador, Dr. Donovan Stanberry, Permanent Secretary, Minister of Industry, Commerce and Agriculture and Fisheries, Jamaica, Regional Representative of FAO for Latin American Caribbean, Dr. Julio Verdaguer. Dear friends, it's an honor for me to open this conference today and thanks the presence of the Prime Minister of Jamaica among us. The region has made great strides over the last decades in terms of food security, as Hugo Martinez just pointed. But many people are still suffering from hunger in the continent. In fact, more than 42 million people. Moreover, we have noted also an alarming increasing in the rates of other forms of malnutrition, especially overweight and obesity. And especially, Prime Minister, here in the Caribbean. The Caribbean has now the second highest rate of obesity in a country where 1 out of 2 people are obese, considered obese. The pole position is among the Pacific Island countries, one of the islands, where 2 out of 3 people are obese. Once I was visiting the Pacific Island, and a good friend of mine, the Minister of Agriculture, told me that they didn't know if the problem was the sea level that was raising and killing land, or that the island was sinking due to the overweight of the people. Obesity has become an epidemic issue in many countries. And I would like to remind that the Sustainable Development Number 2 calls for the eradication of all forms of malnutrition. And this means that we need to address this with public policies and concrete government actions. If we are to provide people with their right to adequate and nutritious food, we need to take effective action in many different areas, not only in agriculture, also health, also public actions. We need to work harder to address such issues as climate change, migration, and sustainable use of natural resources. And for that, we need to join efforts with civil society and especially with private sector. And governments, as stated in our plan, San Salak, that is our guide for this action in the region. FAO firmly believes that ending hunger and all forms of malnutrition by 2030 is still possible, and we can become the first zero hunger generation. It is FAO mission to make that happen. Once more, Excellency, I thank you very much for being here with us today, and thanks the support for the government of Jamaica for our regional conference. It's the first time we get together all countries of the region in a regional conference of FAO. So this record is for Jamaica in compensation for all the efforts you need to do to have us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Director General. Founded in 1944 in the district of Hatfield, the parish of Westmoreland, Jamaica. This group that will now entertain you has been ambassadors for Jamaica all over the world, performing and winning many, many accolades, including gold and silver medals. Specially prepared for you today, please welcome the Hatfield Group. Let's hear it again for Hatfield Group. I bet some of you never knew that we have our own language here in Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me to welcome the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness.
Thank you, Master of Ceremonies, Dr. Donovan Stanbury. The Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, and Fisheries, and Chairman of the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean. Her Excellency, Mrs. Margarita Sedeno, Constitutional Vice President of the Dominican Republic and Special Ambassador of the FAO and a dear friend of Jamaica. Members of my cabinet, Dr. Hugo Martinez, Pro Tempore President of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, El Salvador. Ministers of government from all member states for Latin America and the Caribbean and other heads of delegations. Dr. Jose Garzenio da Silva, Director General for the Food and Agriculture Organization, members of the Diplomatic Corps and international organizations, permanent secretaries, His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Homer Davis, Mayor of Montego Bay, Honorable Bishop Conrad Pitkin, Custos Rotulorum of St. James, not Jamaica, representatives of observer nations, including the Holy See, Dr. Julio Berdego, Assistant Director General for the FAO Latin America and the Caribbean region, Dr. Eve Crowley, Secretary for this conference, representatives of other organizations of the United Nations, Reverend Darwin Thomas, Chairman, St. James Ministers Fraternal, delegates, members of the public and private sector, members of the media, our performers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm certain I've covered everyone. It is a good morning, and I want to personally extend a warm Jamaican welcome to all of you today. It is indeed an honor for the government of Jamaica to host the 35th session of the FAO Regional Conference for Latin America and the Caribbean, having hosted it in 1968, 50 years ago. I'm heartened by the tremendous interest in this conference, as evidenced by the record number of participants here, and indeed the fact that for the first time ever there are observers from the private sector. This is indicative of the importance and priority placed on this conference and its objectives. We're confident that this conference will further serve to deepen our partnership and help to achieve the 17 goals of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, particularly goal number 2, zero hunger. A core component of improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens is food security. That is, and to use the FAO's definition, when all people at all times have the physical, economic, and social access to adequate, safe, and nutritious food to meet their food preferences and dietary needs for a healthy and active lifestyle. Yet, for the first time in 2 decades, hunger is on the rise in Latin America and the Caribbean. We cannot achieve sustained growth and development with this troubling trend. Within this context, as well as the realities of climate change impacting food production and increasing the region's vulnerability, high energy costs, increasing food import bills, among others, we are at a critical juncture that requires the time to plan, address the challenges, and identify solutions that will help to secure food for generations to come. I'd like to posit 3 areas of action that are critical as we seek to address hunger and malnutrition: rural development and climate resilience and sustainable agriculture. The first is that of energy security and food security. In fact, energy security is food security. It is well known that high energy costs is a barrier to increased growth and competitiveness in many of our sectors, including agriculture. We cannot speak to transforming and modernizing our agricultural sector without addressing how to alleviate high energy costs. The government of Jamaica is well aware of the closely bound interaction between energy security and food security. We are now developing an energy ecosystem that is diverse, environmentally sensitive, and affordable. From increased use of LNG, renewables, the government has a target of 30% of our energy needs to be provided by renewable energy sources by 2030. And we are currently at 18% and on track to achieving our 30% goal. The Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology will also explore the utilization of biofuels to further diversify our energy sources. The possibilities for our agricultural sector greatly increase when electricity and other energy-related costs are less volatile. Farmers, food processing entities, food entrepreneurs are able to invest in other aspects of their business when energy costs are affordable and generally predictable. This is particularly important for rural development. Jamaica has long understood the importance of investment in critical infrastructure, roads, electricity, internet connectivity, in supporting rural development. For a majority of Jamaicans residing in rural communities, agriculture is the primary source of income. This is significant because, as empirical data shows, Jamaica's overall economic growth is strongly positively correlated with the growth in the agricultural sector. Rural development by way of the agricultural sector is inextricably linked to Jamaica's economic growth. So with diversified energy sources, small farmers, small agro-processors, and others who are employed in the agricultural sector will benefit from reduced operational costs through the use of renewable energy. We are addressing the crucial nexus between energy and food security and finding solutions to secure both. The second action is that the agricultural sector must embrace technology. There is still heavy reliance on manual processes in agriculture across the region. While we cannot deny the close relationship between traditional culture and many of our agricultural practices, we must continue to appreciate the exponential value that can be created when we infuse our agricultural techniques and processes with technology. This is especially important in the face of climate change. Since 2015, Jamaica has been impacted by drought and by continuous rainfall and flooding. And of course, other Caribbean territories are affected, and they are now recovering from the devastation of hurricanes Irma, Harvey, and Maria. There is no greater threat to agriculture and to national development than climate change. Climate-smart solutions in agriculture are a must. They will help to adapt production systems, conserve and use energy, land, water, marine resources, forests, and biodiversity much more efficiently. We continue to push the integration of technology in improving irrigation systems, expanding the impact of our agri-park systems, and as mentioned, expanding the use of renewable energy. The third action is promoting partnerships to maximize food production. As we seek to modernize our food production processes to address hunger and malnutrition, to promote rural development, and to be climate resilient for greater and lasting impact, the power of partnerships is a necessity. Tourism is a significant industry for many of our economies, and we need to improve the linkages with this industry and others. Jamaica's tourism linkages network epitomizes this very idea of promoting partnerships with the agricultural sector, where hoteliers of varying sizes are able to access local food markets to meet their consumption needs. The ripple effect of such linkages are varied. Expansion in employment, especially in rural Jamaica, expansion in the agro-industry, investments in technology to not only increase yields, but to produce high-quality food, and the list goes on. This government recognizes the importance of leveraging partnerships to achieve growth and development. There are important investment roles for both the public and private sector to help transform our agricultural sectors to one that is competitive, to alleviate food's risk, and for overall increased contribution to economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are at a crossroads in terms of food security. But the final destination has not yet been decided. We have the opportunity, indeed the duty, to ensure we reverse this emerging trend of rising hunger in our region. That we reverse this trend of obesity and non-communicable diseases. Here in Jamaica, a key component of our health strategy is to promote healthy lifestyles. And we have a campaign called Jamaica Moves. And I wish to assure Dr. Da Silva that the island of Jamaica is not sinking. And in fact, the Minister of Agriculture will know that we take this issue of obesity and the non-communicable diseases that result from that, we take it very seriously. And we will be taking certain measures to ensure that our population is consuming a healthy diet. We must promote rural development to stem rural poverty, unemployment, and gender imbalances. And we must integrate climate-smart solutions in our food-related policies and programs. Zero hunger. That is our final destination. And I am confident that we will meet this goal. I know that this conference will generate rich ideas for implementation as we collectively discuss the direction for regional policy. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think the Prime Minister deserves another round of applause. Thank you so much, Prime Minister, for that incisive presentation. And I think in the Ministry of Agriculture, we know your love, Prime Minister, for partnership. And that is why we have sought to forge a partnership with the ministry, our small farmers, and large manufacturing enterprises in the agriculture and food business. And they have partnered with us not only to expand production of agriculture, but also to put on this conference. And I have a duty to recognize our sponsors this morning. And be assured, sponsors, that the order in which I call this name has no relation to the size of your contribution. CEPRAD, give them a hand, please. The Fisheries Management Development Fund, Development Bank of Jamaica, Mavis Bank Coffee Factory, Jamaica Boilers Group, Rainforest Seafoods Limited, Grace Kennedy, Jamaica Producers Group, Caribbean Producers Jamaica. I think our guests at the reception last night can well relate to Jerry and Neville, as well as Red Stripe Jamaica, Newport First Sam, and Jamaica Producers. Thank you so much for your partnership in putting on this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of proceedings for this morning. But just let me highlight two things. One, the heads of delegation are being invited to participate in the official photograph with our Prime Minister and the Director General, while everybody else remain in your seats. Immediately thereafter, the heads of delegation of non-state actors, i.e. private sector and NGOs, will also be invited to take a photograph with the Director General and the Prime Minister. Immediately thereafter, the platform party will depart and head straight for the exhibition mounted by our partners, demonstrating that tripartite partnership among the ministry, the government on the one hand, our small farmers on the other hand, and the third leg of that tripod, our private sector. That is two doors from here to the left. The Prime Minister and the Director General will head that as they view the exhibition. And we do invite other delegates throughout the course of the day also to view the exhibition that has been prepared for you. And after that, of course, we return to the plenary. That will start about 10:40. So between the end of the session here and then you have a food security break. Thank you so much. God bless you, and God bless Jamaica land we love. So we now invite the heads of delegation to, somebody will help us with the photograph. Oh, Marlene.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to stand for the departure of the platform party. Por favor, estar de pie para la salida de los oficiales, el primer ministro de Jamaica y los oficiales, quienes ahora harán un recorrido de la exposición. Then immediately following the departure of our platform party, led by our Prime Minister, we ask the heads of delegations to meet outside, just in front of the building on the steps, for a photo opportunity. So jefes de las delegaciones, por favor reunirse en las escaleras a la salida para hacernos fotografías. Muchas gracias. Heads of delegation, please meet on the outside, just at the steps in front of the building for your official photograph. Y después, todo el mundo puede ir a la exposición. And of course, there are refreshments on the outside. Thank you very much. Have a productive day, ladies and gentlemen.